Welcome, welcome, everyone. Sorry about the late start, but we are all here. Thank you for joining Acker's All-Stars Uncorked, our fifth and final segment to this chapter. And of course, I am joined by Acker's own superstar here, which is Lily Friedman. Lily, how are you this evening?
I'm well, thanks, John. How are you doing?
I am doing great. And of course, we are joined here by NBA superstar and NBA champion, who's also first team All PAC in 2017, NBA All Rookie Team 2018, Rising Star Challenge MVP in 2019, and a newly minted NBA champion in only year 3 of his career, Mr. Kyle Kuzma. Kyle, welcome.
Hey, appreciate you guys having me here. How you guys doing?
We are doing great. How are you doing? Where are you right now? Looks like you're in a nice wine room there.
Yes, I'm currently at home. My residence. I have a wine room in my room. A lot of times where I love to drink my wine, so it's only right.
Absolutely, looks like a great room. So thank you for joining us. We're going to warm everybody up. Lily, you want to set the foundation here for the groups and all the people that are attending here about the chat?
Certainly. So we have the chat available for everyone to use tonight to communicate with the fans, with us, with Kyle, etc. And we just ask that when you're chatting, please set your settings to all panelists and attendees so that we can all be engaged and keep the conversation going. We're not going to be using the hand raise function, but you can submit questions through the Q&A. And other than that, I'll throw it back to John and we can get started.
Okay, thank you very much. We're going to start with a little fill in the blank and get down to it. So we're going to warm up with a few fun questions. So we're going to ask you a few things, a few statements, and I'm going to say blank and you're going to fill it in here. So let's get it on here. So Kyle, if you never became a professional basketball player, you would be a blank.
I would probably be a fashion designer. I think what I would be. Love fashion, love art. Everything in that realm is just entices me. So.
Very cool. I see you have your own clothing line, right? With Puma, are you doing something?
Yeah. I have own clothing line. I paint, draw. So I do a lot of different things in the art design world. So
beautiful. That's great. Okay. Good. So your pregame superstitious activity is blank.
I have to have coffee before every game. If I don't, I probably will not play good. A lot of times, before games, you're super anxious. Also, coffee helps you digest and get everything out too. So, it just helps me get ready to play the game.
How do you like your coffee?
Oh, black, only black. That's it. Okay. Keep it simple, no sugars, no creams. Keep it as cool as possible.
Right. Very nice. Okay. Your go-to snack is blank.
My go-to snack would have to be, this is tough. Twizzlers, definitely Twizzlers. If I need a snack, I'm addicted to those for sure.
All right, fair enough. And what's your guilty pleasure is blank?
Guilty pleasure, guilty pleasure is probably eating ice cream. That's probably the number one pleasure. I shouldn't be eating it as much as I, probably shouldn't. So, I try to sneak it in there, watching a movie at night, whatever. But definitely that.
What flavor?
Gotta stay on a diet.
Any flavor in particular?
The strawberry shortcake ice creams. Those are amazing. Though I would say either that one or just simple chocolate ice cream sandwich.
All right.
Very nice. All right. And after wine, your favorite beverage is blank.
Wine seltzers. Can I keep it in the wine family? No, I'd probably say I love big tequila guy. I love tequila.
Okay.
It's kind of like wine in the sense where there's so many different tastes, how you grow it, how you nurture it. So it's definitely that.
Okay. Very cool. And your first job was blank.
First job I worked at was McDonald's. As soon as I turned 16, my mom made me get a job, and I wanted a job too to, have a little bit more money in my pocket. And that was my first job. It was definitely a humbling experience.
Did you find yourself eating more McDonald's or never eating it again?
More McDonald's for sure. You know, they gave us free meals when we worked, free stamps. You know, it was good life back then.
Right. The life of a high schooler with some income and free food. That's what you really need, right?
That's all you need. All you need.
All right. And last question, which is kind of a fun one. When you are not on the court, you are most competitive doing blank.
I am most competitive. Honestly, I'm competitive in everything. So, you know, whether that's on the basketball court, playing video games, seeing who can drink the most wine, you know, it's kind of just a way of life for me. So,
right.
Sean, you might have met your match on that.
Okay,
you might have.
We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to go toe to toe. I can't hit a free throw, but I can definitely knock down some bottles.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm 6'10". I'm pretty big.
Right. That is a big edge, actually. The bigger you are,
the more big edge.
Fair enough. So you just came out of the bubble, NBA champion. How does it feel?
It's still surreal. It's still kind of hitting me. Obviously, you know, it's only been, I feel like, a week. But, you know, every time I hear, you know, NBA champion Kyle Kuzma, it just hits more and more. It's unbelievable, especially for me to be in my third year super early, which some guys never even have an opportunity to play in the finals and let alone win. So, you know, I'm super grateful for that.
Right. 4 years ago when you were playing in the Pac-12 in Utah, of all places, and which must have been interesting. Could you ever imagine, like, in 4 years that you'd be holding up the trophy? Was that always in your mind, or is it kind of something just just a blur, a dream in the distance?
Man, you know, back then, 4 years ago, I was just trying to get to the NBA, not even thinking about trying to win and do this and do that. You know, my goal was just, you know, get your feet wet, get into the NBA. Hopefully, you know, you work so hard, all that sweat, tears, and hours. You know, you just pray you have the opportunity to play in the NBA, and then once you get there and you see the success that you can have and obtain, then you start thinking about the championships and, you know, what do you want your legacy to be. And, you know, for me to have it in 3 short years is unbelievable.
Yeah, great start to what's going to be a long and great career. We're all excited to follow you for the next couple of decades here. And, you know, what do you think the winning formula was for you guys this year? What made the difference? You know, once you were there in the bubble, was there something that you could really attribute getting through it all and getting to that final prize?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just how our camaraderie was, how close we were, not on the court. Obviously, we were very close on the court, but off the court, we were like brothers. You know, we did everything together. And this is before the bubble. You know, we were such a tight-knit group. And then once we got to the bubble, when we were forced to really, really be around each other, it really allowed us to get even more closer, to know each other, to hang out off the floor, to talk to each other in a different type of way than you're usually accustomed to in your teammates. You know, and we all became friends. So having all that off the court allowed the on the court just to be so much more easier.
Right. And how did you celebrate? Are you still celebrating, or you got some big plans coming up?
Celebrating is all month, and halfway into November. So, you know, we're still in the party mode. Still in party mode.
Right. So hopefully these wines will help you celebrate this evening. What's it been like to return to the real world? Has it been a little surreal? Are you still kind of a little bubble blasted and kind of figuring things out here in LA, or what's it like?
Yeah, you know, it's kind of like you went away to the big house for a couple years. You get back and you're like, oh wow, this is a little different, a different pace. Because when you're in a bubble, you know, we kind of only really did 3 or 4 things, and it was repetitive for 3 months. You know, it was either drink wine, practice, watch film, or golf. You know, that's kind of all we really did. So, you know, feels great to be back. Feels unbelievable. I can sleep in my own bed. I can see my dog, see my girlfriend. No, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it was a long trip, 3 months. I mean, has your golf game improved at least?
Oh, tremendously. I'm actually like I'm almost a bogey golfer. Let's just say that. So
All
that's
right.
pretty good. It's not bad. You know, it's fun. If you can bogey golf, that's fun golf.
That's pretty good. Pretty good. All right. Well, let's get to some wine here. Lily, what are we drinking here to start?
So we're going to start with the 2010 Quilceda Creek Cabernet. We're doing, because we know you like some bigger red wines, so we thought we'd do a Cabernet kind of showdown and hit a few different countries, a few different regions. So we're going to start off with Washington State. And Quilceda Creek is, I think I would say, the most famous wine from Washington. And it's a very bold style. Washington is, they have their vines in the warmest parts of Washington, even though it's definitely cooler up there. We think of Seattle and we think it's cold and rainy. But in the Columbia Valley, where Quilceda Creek is, it's much warmer. So these wines get a significant amount of ripeness. They got lots of spice and fruit to them. And this is already 10 years old, but I would still call this pretty young. John, Kuz, you think it's still young or? There you go.
It tastes young too. You know, especially I feel like for a lot of younger wines, it goes down much more smoother for me. And I've actually had this one before. Not a 2010, but I'm actually familiar with this, and it's really love the taste. You know, like you said, it's big bodied type of red. Love it. It's good. It's definitely good.
Yeah, and that's it's tipping the scales at I think 15.2% alcohol, which is pretty high alcohol.
Pretty high, really high
taste,
compared to most.
It doesn't taste too alcoholic though. It kind of it manages to kind of rein it in. Are you sensitive to that, to some of the higher alcohol wines? I mean, you're a young guy, so you're probably not as sensitive. Some guys, as they get older, they get a little more sensitive to like the elevated alcohol levels. But do you find any sensitivity to that, or you're okay with
Yeah,
that?
you know, I'm not opposed to higher rated volumes of alcohol content within wines. My biggest thing with the content is, do I taste the alcohol? Does it taste like it? You know,
Right.
for me, I love wines that are super smooth to where it's not really alcohol and it doesn't taste that way. And that's the type of wine that I really like.
So you're a big wine lover. You've been drinking wine. You're obviously at maximum. You've been drinking it for 4 years. Wink, wink. But you have, what got you? What got you into wine? What was there an aha moment? What's your wine story?
No, so the first time, well, I'll give you my unofficial time and my official time. So my unofficial time was in college. And, you know, back then we used to drink box wine, a little barefoot, just those simple things around college. So from there, I kind of liked wine. It was whatever, preferred hard liquor before. And then coming to the NBA officially, having rookie dinners with some of my veteran players. You know, one comes to mind vividly. Andrew Bogut was my teammate my rookie year with the Lakers. And our first road trip was in Portland, had us at one of the best steakhouses in America, El Gaucho in Portland, and ordered wine to the table. And, you know, that's kind of what a lot of the older guys in the NBA really do and how they, you know, go about it. Because, you know, as an athlete, hard liquor is it's tough to drink it all the time. And wine is something that's settling, relaxes you, puts you to sleep, you know, puts you in, you know, just a good mood. So having Bogut there, first bottle ever was a 2015 Camus. And Camus is one of the great starters you can have for wine, you know, to me. So ever since then, I've been hooked.
Very cool. Very cool. And how often do you find yourself drinking wine? I mean, we talked to, some other guys like Carmelo. He's drinking it every day, having a glass or two, not having a bottle or two, of course, but, in moderation. I mean, do you find is it like a treat for you on the weekends? Is it something that you have a glass or two kind of every night, or what's your kind of wine habits?
I'm usually about every other day. I usually drink about every other day. Just depends. If I'm at dinner and I get a steak, usually I always will get a cab to go with it. But I try to not go too super crazy on it, because when I do drink, I like to drink with people, have great conversations, and the bottles kind of flow sometimes. So it's part of my lifestyle. I can say that.
Right, right. Well, I know we have a lot of fans, that are making tons of comments. A lot of love out there for you,
Yeah.
Kuz. And we have one person that asked an interesting thing that I caught my eye. So, how do you balance the drinking wine and the working out? Is there kind of what's your routine to balance those two things?
Well, to me, everyone is different. Everyone has different bodies, body types, thresholds. That's probably the most important word I can kind of use is threshold. Especially for someone like me, I've been blessed to be able to drink wine and still continue to work out and play basketball at a high level. But let's say I have a game night before a game. I always love to drink wine before games. Gets me to go to sleep. And I may have a bottle, amongst people, bottle or two amongst people. But most of the time, it kind of just goes off that feel. I don't like to drink wine before I work out. I like to be hydrated and ready to do my main thing. But anytime I'm relaxing, midday, go to Malibu, have some rosé, Whispered Angel, whatever. It's a good day for me.
Right. Fair enough. So, let's talk about the bubble and the wine culture down the bubble. From what we can tell from our previous guests, there was a lot of wine going on in the bubble. Is it something that everybody in the NBA is into wine right now? Is it half the guys, a small group? What's the wine culture like, both in the NBA, inside and outside the bubble?
I would say that it is evolving dramatically. I would say that from the time I came into the league, and granted, I've always been on the same team, so I only know who my teammates are truly. Everybody kind of dips and dabs with wine. You have some guys like me, like LeBron, like Carmelo, JJ Redick, CJ McCollum that has his own wine, that live and breed and die by wine. And you have other guys that it's more of a social type thing, go to dinners, have a glass or two, may not know a lot about wine, but know a few things. And then you have the guys that are, that want to get into it because you see everyone in our realm. It's a way for us to relax, have conversations, and, it's a lot of connoisseurs in the NBA.
Right.
How have you educated yourself about wine? Just by tasting and being around so much of it, or by doing something else?
So two things. I'm in my wine room so I can show you. So obviously self-learning, learning how, different wines, having older teammates, definitely having LeBron James on my team and having him as a friend has tripled my knowledge of wine. I also have this big book right here, the Book of Wine, where I study.
Oh, yes.
Anytime I need to know about regions, valleys, how they grow, I'm pretty knee deep into it. So, you learn all the time.
So
That's great.
You mentioned LeBron. So obviously he's a big wine collector. So did LeBron ever bring a bottle of wine you didn't like and you had to tell him, or you just told him you liked it anyway?
Oh, no, never. He's a guy, he's been around. He's been drinking wine for, I think he said about 6, 7, 8 years, one of those. And, in that amount of time, you learn so much. And I know, which is probably one of the greatest compliments I've had with wine, is going to dinner with LeBron and him letting me pick bottles too. And that's pretty rare, especially for someone that has a certain palate, certain taste that may not know someone else's. I picked out some pretty good wines that night.
And what were they?
Man, it was so long ago that instance happened. Definitely all reds. Oh, we were more in the Tuscan Italian range that night. I can tell you that. I can definitely remember that. So that was the night I knew I had good taste.
Very good.
So what was your favorite wine from the bubble? Was there one wine that stood out when you were down there? Was there one wine that just blew everybody away and was like king of the bubble wine?
King of the bubble wine. I had a lot of Mayacamas out there. That was a big bottle of choice. was a great wine that I had. I had an 85 Uncorked. That was pretty big time. That was pretty big time. That was probably my favorite bottle. So
great wines. That is one
great,
of the world. Yeah.
great wine right there. Great wines.
And so when it comes to the wine, guys, you know, it's were you guys all gathering together, or, you know, obviously being on the Lakers, you know, you guys, you know, in some regards, you're like public enemy number one, because everybody, it's you know, it's LeBron, it's all the attention, all the energy. Did you find, though, when the games were over, was there camaraderie amongst all the players, or was it kind of like you guys hanging with yourselves doing your own Lakers thing, or was it more of a mix?
It was kind of a mix. You know, at the end of the day, we're all humans. You know, we're not necessarily enemies amongst each other as players. Some of us actually do like each other as people. So, you know, you may have your times where people might hang out, you know, go to a little dinner. But most of the time, especially when the playoffs started, it was all team. Everything was about team. So time the playoffs started, it was just us hanging out. You know, it was us going to dinner together, us eating breakfast together, going to golf together, just doing all those type of little things to get that goal done.
Now, do you think that more people are now, I mean, there's been a lot of coverage and a lot of press. Do you think that more people are asking you about wine? Have you noticed that since this kind of whole NBA wine story? And there are other players coming to you and saying, "Hey, Kuz, can you help me out? Can you tell me what's up with some of these wines?"
I think that's usually the story with me. Anytime I'm out to dinner with someone, whether that's you know, bubble or just in the real world, you know, anytime we're going to dinner, I'm kind of the only person ever really picking out wine, because, you know, people know me for wine. So people may ask when the wine comes, "What's this? What taste?" Or if I'm at dinner with someone I've never met before, I'm like, "Okay, what type of wines do you like? What type of taste? Do you like wines that are acidic, or do you like fruity, or do you like something bold? Or do you want something light like a Pinot?" So, you know, all just it depends.
And you've gone on a few wine trips, right? Have you gone? I saw you went to Australia, right, on a wine trip.
Few wines. I've been to Australia. I've been obviously to Napa. Drink wine in Washington, Oregon. Great, as you know, great red cab Pinot area. One of my favorite places to actually go is super close to here, Santa Barbara. You know, up that Paso Robles area. It's beautiful up there. Great wines, great Pinots, Chardonnays. You know, great up there as well. So, you know, I'm all over the place. Still got to go to Europe. Haven't had the opportunity to go. I was supposed to go this summer. So, you know, we'll see how it goes in these next upcoming months to see if, you know, we can make something work.
Right. I mean, so the season's probably going to start in January. That's like the rumor, right? Have you heard anything about when the next season's going to start?
Haven't heard anything. It's kind of just a waiting game, you know, especially for us in the NBA. We want fans, and that's the biggest thing. Without fans, we're kind of just basketball players playing in empty gyms. So anytime we can get the fans back, whether it's full capacity, half, 25%, you know, I think that's the goal of the NBA. So that's the biggest thing. You know, whenever the governors and state officials, they allow public meetings like that, then you could see it come back a little bit sooner. So we'll see.
Right. It's pretty sure, though, that there's not going to be a bubble again. There might be a playoff bubble, I guess, again, but probably not for the regular season, right?
Right. Can't, yeah, for sure.
Too long a time, yeah. And I think now that the other leagues kind of started to figure it out, yeah. But it's without the fans, it's tricky. So it'll be interesting to see what happens coming in the next year. So why don't we move on to the next wine, Lily? We got two wines we're doing head to head here, right? Napa, we just talked about Napa. We talked about Europe. We got California Cabernet versus Bordeaux, the great debate, so to speak. So take us away, Lily.
So we know you as a wine person, and we know that your birth year is 1995. So we thought we'd include these two 95s to do head to head. And what's very famous about California wines and Bordeaux wines is in 1976, there's something called the Judgment of Paris, where they tasted a huge selection of Bordeaux, so all the first gross, the Latour, the Mouton, the whatever, against all of California's best wines. And it was submitted to a panel of tasters, kind of the top wine critics and wine professionals in the world. And they tasted like 14 wines, Cabernets and Chardonnays, both categories, blind, and ranked them. And Chateau Montelena was, of course, in the tasting. It has a French name. It always kind of aspired to be a French wine despite being in the Napa Valley. And it's a property that goes back to 1882. And then Gruau de Rose is a beautiful second growth in Saint-Julien and Bordeaux, both Cabernet. In the Gruau de Rose, it's 63% Cabernet Sauvignon, 25% Merlot, 9% Cabernet Franc. But they're the same vintage, primarily the same varietal, both Cabernet, and really should be a really fascinating comparison. So do you have a preference between the two? And then our idea is since you're really into wine, why don't we kind of walk the viewers through how we taste wine kind of more critically so that people know what the scoop is?
Yeah, you know, Napa and Bordeaux, those are my favorite two red wine regions and areas in the world. Obviously, they're very close together, but they're also very different at the same time to me. Obviously, I think it starts with the soil and how it's made. You know, obviously, I think Napa, they use a lot of more chemicals, a lot more different things to, you know, make the wine taste a certain different way than the old world, which is in France. So I think it's definitely has the distinct different taste and feel. You know, tasting this Chateau Montelena, obviously 95 Napa, but you can tell the Bordeaux influence into it. You know, I think the number one thing that you can tell by, for me, is going back to the soil, and you can taste, you know, it tastes just like a Bordeaux. So let me go to the rose right now.
Yeah, it is very kind of, I mean, there's kind of a little bit of a thing in California when it's the old world style or the new world style. And some people prefer that kind of old world style and the classic style like the Montelena, versus some of the new world styles are those ones pushing the alcohol levels up. And there's kind of a battle for the soul of California. And here you see one of the classics, Montelena, ages beautifully, and just maybe a you know, pinch of that hot asphalt and kind of that sweeter cassis, you know, compared to the Bordeaux, but definitely refined in style. I got to agree with you there.
But Kuz just did the perfect thing. He just tipped both glasses to look at them so you could see the difference in the color, and that's what it's all about. And so what did you see? How do they look different?
Well, I think the Napa is slightly darker. You know, obviously raising it up, that's one thing. From a wine etiquette standpoint, just, you know, knowing what you're really drinking. You know, I think for this one right here, the Montelena, you see it's much more darker, especially around the edges of it. If you look at this the Ruse, you'll see at the top, the tipping point, it's much more lighter, and I can tell because I can see a little bit more of my hand in this one than this one. So that's kind of my rule of thumb with judging wine from that standpoint. John, like you said, Montelena, you taste more of the fruit because of the New World Napa. But going back to this one, Le Rouge, you taste more of the soil and the more naturalness of it. So,
do you have a preference necessarily between the two, or they're both pretty good? So,
they're both very good. It's very tough for me to kind of analyze and like decipher. Because sometimes I love the fruitfulness. I love the actual taste of like, hey, this is wine. But as someone that loves wine and loves different tastes, having the Bordeaux here, it just tastes more original and old school, like I'm on a Odyssey pirate ship. You know, that's the type of wine I kind of like and I kind of feel. So
there's a word to describe the you know, what the French use, there's a word called terroir, which is like the sense of place that, and a lot of them attribute the quality of the wine to where it comes from in the grapes. And I think, you know, they don't talk about that in California as much, although some do, and they have gotten into some vineyard designates and especially some of the mountain sites. But there is this almost this reverence, you know, for terroir, what they call the place where it comes from. And I think you can taste that, like you picked up on it right away. You kind of taste, it doesn't have the opulence necessarily that California has, but it just keeps going on and lingers in your mouth. And and it makes you think, you know, and it's a very stimulating wine intellectually that really kind of engages. And I think that's what's great about wine in general, right? It just makes you think, and there's so much to talk about, which is why everybody's fallen in love with it.
Right. And I think especially, you know, you just kind of hit it on the nail to where, you know, especially as, you know, wine junkies as ourselves, we love history, and we love, you know, we're drinking a wine from 1995. That's when I was born, right? Or it may be, okay, this LaRue has been around for 200 years, and this is a wine that's been, you know, famous in a certain section of France, and this is where everyone drinks there, and we have a taste of that. So I think that's the cool thing of, you know, really thinking and, you know, analyzing, you know, why we really drink wine.
Right. We prefer the term wine lovers instead of wine junkies, though.
I love that. I love that even better. Wine lover.
And cheers.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that.
And happy birthday to you. We have the 1995 wines from, have you ever had a wine from your birthday before?
I have. Last year I had Chateauneuf. What did I have? What was it?
Maybe Beaucastel or?
I forgot. Oh yes, Bouquet. Yes, there we go. That's exactly what it was. I had a 95.
Yep.
That's one of my favorite bottles as well. So that was my first like wine bottle. Yes, for a birthday.
Right, and you had a pretty big birthday celebration in the bubble. So I guess you know, what did you do? There were like airplanes involved and things in the sky going on. What was the story there?
Yeah, I mean that was honestly the highlight of my birthday. Obviously, I was in the bubble alone. I had my teammates there. They threw me a pizza party, which was pretty fun. Had a lot of pizza, a lot of wine, good times with my teammates. My girlfriend, she flew a plane over the bubble, wishing me a happy birthday. So, you know, that was the talk of the town within the bubble for a couple of days, and made my day. So.
Very cool. So we have the two wines here, and Lily, do you want to finish the kind of the little wine education 101 about, you said about seeing the wine, the first, we have the 4 S's, right? We have.
Yeah, John's really into the 4 S's, which is an acronym or mnemonic device that I learned this morning. But you look at the wine, you see the wine, you swirl the wine, which Kyle's seems real proficient in, and I greatly appreciate that. Got a swirl on. And then you sniff the wine, give it a smell, and then you sip it. And we've kind of gotten through all the steps. Is there anything, John, that stands out to you on the profile of either wine that's worth noting, especially kind of differentiating the two, I'd say, because they are so similar?
I think, you know, I'm getting some similarities. Like I did, you know, pick up on a little more hot asphalt, a little more sweet cassis in the Napa wine. But what, to me, that kind of leathery, earthy, lingering quality. I mean, I get a similar finish from both, and they both seem still, I wouldn't call either of these mature. I think they're still ascending a little bit. So I think here we are at age 25, you know.
My question is for you, how can you tell that it's not ascending yet?
Well, I think it's a question of vigor and energy. You know, with the energy you get from the wine, you feel like this wine is still young. You know, you feel like, oh, this wine's starting to get a little old. And when it's old, the fruit starts to get a little browner. The flavors start to get a little softer. It gets a little more tender. You know, the vigor starts to lose a step or two. So for me, it's all about energy. So both these wines have great energy, and I feel like they're still kind of, you know, going up the, you know, up the ladder. So, you know, and I think, you know, obviously 25 years old is very young for you, for us as people. But 25 years old is a very old wine. For most people, don't even get the opportunity to taste something that old. And that's where, wine collecting becomes a habit. And we wanted to ask you, so how is your wine collection? Do you have a lot of wines? Have you opened up a professional storage account because you're out of room in the house yet? What's going on?
I'm not at that point yet. I have a fridge in my house, holds about probably about 200 bottles. So, I have a pretty fairly small, but it does the job in my house. Especially during the quarantine, I kind of emptied it out. I drank so much wine during the quarantine, early stages of the quarantine,
Me too.
which I kind of ran out, and I ran out right before I went to the bubble, came home, and literally within 2 days, I went to the wine store and probably spent, I think I spent about $8,000 on wine, and literally as soon as I got home, because I needed wine, needed a good taste, needed it in the house. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Well, that's important. Like, no, especially now when going out is a big adventure. It's kind of like you want to have everything you need in the house. So you can kind of like hunker down, so to speak. Do you have a favorite wine that you find yourself drinking more often than not? Or you just are you into like experiment and trying so many different things, or do you keep going back to one type of wine more often than not?
I think the wines, well, at first, I think that once you kind of get into this wine world and you understand, like, oh, I like this. Okay, let me try this. I want to taste this. Why does this wine taste different than this? And why is this region different? You kind of get into that mind state of, okay, I want to try everything. I want to try these wines, a different wine every night. But then you get to the point where you find the wines that you like and you love. And, I like to call them your everyday wines, the wines you like to drink when it may be someone over your house, or you may be at dinner with someone that isn't really a super wine person. So you're not going to get the biggest and best bottle. You're going to get the bottle that is kind of suitable for everyone to drink. And then if I'm going to dinner with you, then I gotta take out the truths, or the big dogs. So it kind of just all depends. I think for me, can't go wrong with Camus. Camus is one of the best bottles, Napa. Silver Oak, love a '07 Silver Oak. That's a really good bottle for me. My buddy John Jordan Wines is great as well. Whether that's a 2013 bottle or the 15. I'm so all over the place. I'm all over the place with it. So.
And what kind of food you like to drink with your wine? It sounds like a good steak is kind of number one on the charts.
Steak. I'm gonna do a steak. That's obviously the number one thing. The thing that I'm really getting into right now is trying to learn what cheeses go with wines, to where that's kind of my newest development within wine. So I love the past 3-4 days I've been home drinking wine. I have a certain type of cheeses, which I'm not too familiar with, but I'm learning. And I kind of like that type of vibe right now.
Do you drink white wine at all, or you just drink mainly red wines?
Mainly red. Love Chardonnays. I think from a white standpoint of wine, I really love wines from like Chablis, white Burgundies. Those are pretty good. Pinot Grigios, they're pretty cool. But that's something that I need to really explore more. But I'm so addicted to red wine where it's kind of tough sometimes. And I'm either red wine or rosé. Like rosé is my ultimate daytime drink. Ultimate daytime. Like that's my favorite thing to do. Rosé all day. So.
Do you, what do you do for dinner? Do you cook at home? Are you into the cooking at all? Or do you have a chef taking care of things for you? Or you're a nutritionist? Or how do you watch what you eat?
I have a chef. That was honestly the first, outside of my car and getting an apartment, that was like my third purchase, getting a chef, someone to cook.
Nice.
Especially where I came from, a poor background. I grew up eating McDonald's and Little Caesars every day, pizza. So, my first thing is like, I'm getting a chef. I'm going to eat steak, salmon, and chicken every single night. That's what I want. So, the chef does a great job for me, cooks healthy for me, matches my wine. It's great. It's good.
Beautiful. That's a great thing. So let's get into the next wine, Lily, right? We have
Yeah.
wine number 4.
Let's go.
So wine number 4, as Kyle mentioned, he has a certain thing as he ordered perhaps with LeBron James, some Tuscan wine. And we're going to get into 1988 Ornellaia, which is after Sassicaia, which is kind of the definition of the super Tuscan category.
One of my favorites as well. Sassicaia, one of my favorites.
Well, this is like the cousin or the little brother that's right next door. And 88 is a fantastic, I think, well-balanced vintage for super Tuscan wines. And this is Cabernet again, but a little bit less. So this is 80% Cabernet Sauvignon, 16% Merlot, and 4% Cabernet Franc. Ornellaia, at least at this point, was aged for a little bit shorter amount of time in French oak. So it has less of that kind of like overt vanilla flavor. And it's more like lightly spicy, more earthy, kind of, I think, would fit more in the profile of the Gros Rose that you just had versus the Chateau Montelena. But it's, I think, probably this wine, I'd dare to venture and say it's perfectly mature. John, what do you think?
I think it is. You see, I taste a little more of that gaminess in the fruit, which is a little more maturity. It's got a great leathery, like this kind of sandpapery, leathery finish. And it's a little bit a different kind of flavor kink from being in Italy, and that comes from the terroir and the region, and some of the other things that make Tuscany so great. Some might say it's all the olive trees, or it's the wind from this area or that area, and and to me, there's a little more of a red, kind of almost like a Bing cherry, that tart, bright cherry that's really intoxicating. So
I taste the cherry. Definitely. I just tasted it. That's a great call right there.
Right. Well, that's what happens when you drink like 400,000 bottles, of wine. You get to pick up on a flavor or two here or there, So that was my version of the gym, over the last 20 years. So, thankfully, I've had some great wines. And so what is it like for you, being kind of the next generation, one of the young guys coming up in the league? The game has changed so much in the last 10 years, right? And, is there kind of like the new guys and the old guys? Are they different teams, or is everybody is it a brotherhood from A to Z, or does it kind of feel like there's this kind of tension between the stars of today and the stars of tomorrow?
No, not at all. I think it's all brotherhood, and that's the best thing about the NBA. You have so many great players, so many older great superstars, and for me, my experience as a young player and a young player that's coming up into the NBA still is that a lot of older guys, they love to send the elevator down and give you advice and let you learn from their mistakes. I have unbelievable friends, with LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, that as well, which are great mentors for me, not only about wine but just life. They've been in the league for so long that they kind of been and seen everything that you're going to go through. So for me, coming in, I've always been the type of person to really ask for advice, obviously from a basketball standpoint, but actually also asking, what type of bank accounts do you have? What type of investments you're in? And that's the best thing about the NBA. It's just such a brotherhood. So.
Well, that's great to hear. And do you feel that, obviously, the game has changed a lot over the past 10 years. Do you have what do you think are some of the differences today? Do you think, especially with how people are working out, or how people are playing a game, or how people are taking care of themselves, you know, and now in the world of social media, there's so much information, there's so much attention on you guys. You know, how do you decompress or tune out from all that?
You know, you just got to be yourself. I think that's the biggest thing. Obviously, you have such a big fan base. You have such a big following. You not only for yourself, but the team that you play for, especially playing for the Los Angeles Lakers. We have 20+ million fans all across the world, and it's probably the biggest team. You know, with the Knicks of a certain fan base. So the attention, the spotlight, you're on stage all the time. You know, I like to say, if you're not in your house or you're not in your hotel room, you got to put your face on and you are officially on stage. Whether that's you being Kuz, whether that's you being Carmelo, whether that's you being Chris Paul, you know, you have a certain following and platform. So obviously there's do's and do nots, but you know, for me, I just try to be myself and be true to myself, and try to give people and fans, you know, a little bit of taste of what's my life like. So.
All right, we're certainly doing that tonight. We appreciate it. I can say, unfortunately, as a lifelong Knicks fan, we're hurting right now. We're hurting bad. We need some help. Come play for us, Chris. Come over. We need something, anything. Anyway. So that's super cool. And so why don't we play another game here? We have a fun game here. You know, while we still have some time with you, we have a game that we call Kuz It or Lose It. So if you like it, if you're into it, you kuz it, of course. And if it's not really for you, you lose it. All right?
Let's do it.
Here we go. Pumpkin spice.
Lose it.
All right. Parrots.
Kuz it. I like parrots. I think it's funny. I used to watch movies and parrots used to talk, and Polly Want a Cracker, you know, scary movie. I love it. So
is that on your list for the house for a new addition? Get a parrot?
I don't know if I want a bird in my house. I'm cool with dogs. I have an unbelievable husky. I'm looking for more huskies. I think I'll stay in that lane, but
fair enough. Dessert wine.
Oh, dessert wine, Kuz it for sure. I don't drink it too often, but you know, certain, you know, occasions or whenever, dessert wine is cool for sure.
Right. I mean, it's amazing. They're so good, but they're so sweet. And like a lot of people say, if you drink wine, the wine is sugar, alcohol is sugar. So you have the wine, you don't really need dessert, or you don't really need dessert wine because you already had the wine. So, but they are divine. So you said earlier that you love Twizzlers. How about black licorice?
Lose it. Lose it. Yeah, I'm red licorice only. Right. Red licorice only.
They used to make the black Twizzlers way back in the days.
In the day, I used to eat those back in the day, and then I kind of just ran out of it. I was like, I can't do this anymore.
Right. You know what's who loves the black licorice the most? The Danish. They have this salt licorice,
really?
Black licorice, and it's like salty black licorice. I swear to God, if you're in like the Copenhagen airport and you throw a piece of like black salt licorice on the floor, there'll be like a riot. They love it. They cannot get enough of the salt licorice. Anyway, I digress. Screw cap wine.
I like one. So I'm gonna say Kuz it. Continuum. I think that's a cool one. You know, it's not always about, especially for me learning in this wine journey, it's not always about the most expensive, and it's not always about the oldest wine. You know, a wine that is in 1998, you may not like, and you may like the 2018 8 Years in a Desert Orange Swift bottle. That's $24. You may like that. So for me, it just all depends.
Right. I think that the wines are fine if they're meant for drinking, and they're wines that are meant to be enjoyed and consumed. There's no issue with it. I mean, if you want to age it in the cellar 20, 30 years, well, that remains to be seen. That's the question mark. So I think, yeah, it depends on the type of wine. I think when you get up to the finest and rarest wines, that we should probably stick to the corks. But for everyday
Yeah.
wines, no problem. I agree. So,
Right.
how about you said you're a man of fashion? How about ripped jeans?
Yeah, Kuzma, for sure. They have a time and a place. It all depends. If I'm going to church, I'm not wearing ripped jeans. If I'm going to a social gathering, I might wear ripped jeans. So, it kind of just all depends on where you're going.
What about jeans with cuffs?
Cuffs. Nah, lose it. Gotta lose that one.
I'm glad you said that. My heart was, I was a little nervous for a second.
No, that's more 2010. Like 10 years ago, I would have said Kuzma, but I'm gonna say lose it right now.
All right. What about flip-flops?
Kuzma all the way. Love them. I'm a basketball player, so if I'm not in shoes, I'm usually in sandals. I love to go to workouts with sandals on, especially for after I take my socks off, have the sandals, my feet out. It's kind of the basketball life.
Right. Okay. What about, well, you said you like cheese. What about smelly cheese?
Smelly cheese, I don't like smelly cheese though. Like I said, I'm kind of new into the cheese world. I'm getting into it. I'm kind of still getting familiar with the names and the certain different tastes. I can tell you, I love truffle cheese. Love truffle right now. Goat cheese is also, pretty good for me too. So I'm learning, but stinky cheese, I might have to get into it a little bit more.
All right. Fair enough. What about punk rock?
Punk rock. I love the rock star lifestyle. I love the way, rock stars dress. They go about their life. They live free. But I don't really listen to punk rock, music or anything like that. So I'm like, can I be in the middle? Like,
Neutral.
Like, lose it. I'm neutral. That's a neutral one.
Right. You're not going to cruise it. You're not going to lose it, but you might use it, I guess.
Yeah. Use it. I love that one.
Right. They're really, rock and roll, it's almost disappeared from the music world. It really doesn't even exist anymore. So, all right, 3 more. We got, what about Star Wars?
Lose it. The older me says lose it. I used to kind of like lightsabers, Obi-Wan Kenobi, those type of R2D2s. Back in the day, kind of depends, but I'm gonna say lose it right now.
All right.
Sorry, fans. I know some of you guys have said wow.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. I think some stormtroopers are going to come looking for you pretty soon. How about candy corn?
No candy corn. 110% lose it.
All right. Fair enough. And the last one, what about the fanny pack?
One of my teammates, he loves fanny packs. I am one of those people that actually does not like fanny packs. I love it. I will wear a fanny pack, but it has to be a shoulder bag. I can't wear it on my waist. It doesn't really look well. It doesn't go well with outfits and kind of what you're wearing, so lose it.
Fair enough. So we have one more wine to taste here. We got the value wine, which is how do you say it? Rootstock or rootstock?
Rootstock.
Rootstock. And this one, California Vineyard, it's got the Highway 29, which is the famous Napa Road on the label. And Lily, tell us about this Cabernet.
So Rootstock despite making, I think, over 15,000 cases of this wine, it's incredibly well balanced. It is the definition of current modern California Cabernet. It has both French and American oak on it. Kyle seems to enjoy it. There was a thumbs up. And it is ripe and rich and has lots of Cabernet in it, 87% Cabernet, 8% Merlot, 4% Cabernet Franc, and just 1% of Malbec to keep it interesting. And it's ripe, it's rich, it's really delicious, but it is very affordable. It's $25. But it really is what most people think of when they think of California Cabernet. And I don't think this would steer you wrong or be disappointing in any way, shape, or form.
I think you're exactly right. Like you said, even going back to what I kind of said earlier, it's never really about the price of wine, because a bottle that could be $400 could be terrible and you might not like it. And the wine that, for instance, one of my favorite wines actually is it's a small wine. It's called Sexual Chocolate. It's a great pizza wine. You know, I'm a big pizza guy, so it's never about the price. I think definitely this wine, like you said, it's super true. It's super true to what kind of Napa and California wines are really all about. You know, most of their wines you can really taste more fruitful. Like you said, it has a Cab Franc in it that, you know, allows it to really have that on the darker side as well. So, hey, it's all about what you like. It's all about what you like. It's all about the taste and what you feel comfortable drinking.
This is the kind of wine that you could certainly, you know, open up any night of the week for anybody that comes over, and it's a good bottle of wine. It just goes to show you can drink like a pro for $25 a bottle. To everyone out there, it's just starting to get into wine and just starting to learn about wine. You know, it's there's a whole world of wine out there from $10 to $10,000 a bottle. And this is a great example. All right, so we got one more game to play here before we wrap things up, and we're going to do a 60-second shot clock here. We're going to ask you some rapid fire questions again, and you're just going to answer them. All right, you ready to go? 60 seconds. All right. So, who's your childhood NBA hero?
Kobe Bryant.
All right. What's one of your favorite musical artists?
Favorite musical, Drake.
Drake. All right. Who's next year's league MVP?
Anthony Davis.
All right. What's your current TV binge?
The last TV binge I watched was P-Valley.
Okay. Very cool. What's one of your favorite movies?
Catch Me If You Can. A big Leonardo DiCaprio guy.
All right. Very cool. What's a food you hate the most?
Brussels sprouts.
Brussels sprouts. All right. Fair enough. Who's the most underrated player in the game today?
Drew Holiday, New Orleans Pelicans, by far.
Very cool. Wow. What's your Last Supper food and wine pick?
Ooh, Last Supper. If I had a Last Supper, it'd be steak, it'd be fried chicken, salmon, and a little bit of lemon and herb chicken with couscous, adding in a camas. You could tell I thought about this as well. Running off. Camas, a Jordan, Chateauneuf Castle, and probably Uncorked as well.
All right. All right. Yeah, we got to get you onto the, I would recommend a 70 or a 68, perhaps a 62 Unico for that. But
we'll talk later about that. We'll talk later. Don't worry about it.
Later about that. What is the best player you ever shared the court with? I think we might know that answer, but
I don't even have to say it. You just know. I don't have to say it.
Right. Right. And who was your favorite NBA team of all time growing up?
Detroit Pistons. Love them. Favorite team ever: Chauncey Billups, Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, and Tayshaun Prince. Favorite team ever.
And it's interesting you said, because I mean that was my era, because that's the last time the Knicks were good, like in the 90s actually. Although Carmelo had a couple of really nice years there too, which really energized the city. But you know, it was like that era was so physical, it was so violent, it was so like, you know, it was really violent almost. And the game is like much different, right? It's gotten a little more away from that, right? And
right.
More the style of the game, and it's still a very physical game, of course, but it's interesting to hear you you like that era, because that means a lot to me. And well, Kyle, I mean, thank you so much. It's been great having you here. Great to share a few wines with you tonight. Congratulations, NBA championship. You know, NBA champion you, and hopefully the first of many. We look forward to seeing you on the court again after some much deserved time off. And cheers to you. Congratulations on everything. And
thank you. I appreciate it.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Appreciate the wine. It's been great. So, hey, appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.